Okay, hello everyone. Tonight we are going to talk about connecting stories and how and why that's important, how to do it, why it's important, and how to use this to build a local community. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Kelly Couch, and I am an independent promoter with the company Pruvit. And I'm excited to talk about this tonight because Nick and I literally, besides 5 and 10 day experiences, this is how we built our business, particularly in the beginning when we didn't know anything else but to connect people and share their stories. So I'm excited to dig in and share with you how we went about doing that. So whatever line of business you're in, almost everyone nowadays is in the business of selling, right? So whether you're trying to get customers to buy your product, whether you're trying to pitch your company to investors, whether you're trying to motivate your kid to do the dishes, right? Your success will be dictated on your ability to influence and persuade, right? And storytelling is arguably the most powerful tool in your selling toolbox, whether it's your story, or your ability to tell your story, or whether it's you enabling other people to share theirs, right? You provide that avenue and they can share their story where maybe they didn't feel comfortable before, and that empowers them and it empowers the people that they're sharing it with. I believe that a story can potentially carry the entire sale for you. If you were on Brian's training last night about Match the Hatch, it can do the whole thing for you if you can learn how to do it correctly, even if everything else is technically wrong with your massive action, right? So I think in the beginning, we say take massive action, just do it, just do, and you'll learn by doing. And then even if you're doing it wrong, if you connect, or not right, I should say, nothing's wrong. Like if you're sharing that, you're not doing it wrong. But if you're not, maybe haven't really honed it in on exactly how to talk to people, if you just share, just get it out there and open the conversation and then connect them with someone who has experienced the same thing and had benefits with ketones, you've sealed the deal. You've opened the conversation and you've connected them, because telling a story feels a whole lot less like selling and a whole lot more like helping people, right? If you're just trying to share, if I'm trying to share 5 other people's stories, I'm sounding like I'm just trying to convince them or back myself up, or I'm in a tizzy, right? If I connect them with a couple of those people and they really connect, it sold the thing for me, right? So never underestimate the power of the stories. Our product is the stories behind it, 100%. So stories are the main way we've always communicated, right? I think we lose that when we're trying to sell a product. We've always told stories, we've always communicated that way, and we're all hardwired to be persuaded by them, right? I think using them in your market, soon you'll be telling the stories about how much money you're making, right? So use your stories and see how it changes things. I think a great example, I went to a vendor event recently and I took my daughter. She loves to go 99% for the paparazzi jewelry for kids. That's $1. She is like their biggest customer, but she goes around and she always said, I say, you can pick one thing. So there's a lady across from us and she has all this custom jewelry and she has these little magnets and they are the ugliest magnets I've seen. I'm like, there's no way we're spending money. Like I only gave her $1, but I'm like, you're not buying these. They're hideous. Like find something that actually you'll use. And I don't know if you can, like, I have them, but they're so, you can't even see the disaster that they actually are. The painting isn't even right. Like it's just, they're so awful. And like I'm making fun of them and you're going to make fun of me, but it has a point. The magnets on the back, like they're not even cut square. I'm like, how is this lady in business? But what happened was she told me the story behind it. And what happens is she has all this jewelry that she custom makes and it's expensive. But what she does is she brings her grandchildren in to work with her and then they make these magnets and she sells them. So she's trying to teach them hard work. She's trying to teach them custom making magnets and jewelry. And she's trying to teach them entrepreneurship, that if they want to do something that they can do it. And so then not only did we buy one for Hayden, we bought some for her to share with her friends, and we were really excited about the story behind, you know, what these magnets represented. And so if you think about it, something magical happened in that transaction, right? Before they told me the story behind the magnets, it wasn't worth a dime to me. I was like, there's no way, like, I could make these. We're not doing that. And after she told me this story, this little ugly thing suddenly had so much meaning that I had to get it. And I was glad to pay 10 times what I thought it was worth. I mean, I thought it was worth like a half a penny, right? I was going to pay 20 bucks a quarter for it, right? But I quadrupled 10x what I thought it was worth because the story was so cool. I was like, that's cool. We try to do that with our kids too. And we bought some to share with Hayden's friends. And now when we gifted the magnet, we told the story as well. And they didn't think we were gifting them this cheap magnet, but they got the symbol behind it. Now every time they see the magnet, they're telling the story. And so the power of that story really was something else in that situation. So that's the power of a well-told story, right? It gives meaning to a product that is otherwise impersonal, right? And so with people selling so much these days, you've got to make it personal. You've got to be, in other trainings, we've talked about building people's belief, right? In you, in the product, and in our company. And one way to make it really personal is to tell your story, and it builds the belief in you. It builds the belief in the product, right? It differentiates your product offering from your competitors, and it makes it much more memorable. So another thing it does is it builds relationships, and it inspires your audience and customers to make decisions beyond, any logical calculation they're trying to make. So if you're trying to sell them, quote unquote, sell them a 5 or a 10 day, or you're trying to sell them a box, they're like, no way I'm giving up my energy drink. No way I'm giving up my coffee. I'm not spending $7 a day, $5 a day, $4 a day on this, right? If you tell them your story and you connect their story to someone like Brian suggested last night, sharing an Inspire On, sharing a success profile interview like we're going to do tonight at 9:30, sharing, really connecting them on a Zoom or in person, it changes everything. It's not just their logic, it goes to their heart, right? And then they understand why we're all so passionate. And also, it gives you credibility. You're not a doctor, but you can connect them to someone experiencing what they are, and you don't have to be anything but yourself. And Nick and I hit that roadblock a lot in the beginning. We were trying to spew out the science because the science was awesome, and everything we learned, we were like, every single person needs to know this. And no one believed us. I was an attorney. He was an electrician. They were like, they don't even know what they're talking about, right? But the minute that we told them what we felt, we shared it, connected their stories with other people experiencing what they were going through. We didn't have to be a doctor. That person didn't have to be a doctor because that person was going through the same exact thing, right? So it gives you so much credibility when you have stories to back it up. And when you really start to learn people's stories, you realize how much, like, I want to use the word ammunition. It's not ammunition because you're not trying to sneak one over on them, but really how much backup you have. By learning my team's stories, I had a lady reach out the other day and she was like, do you know anyone personally who's lost weight from this? Like, you actually know them. It's not a picture online. And I'm like, heck yeah. So I put her in a group of women that have lost over 40 pounds. And they just let it go. And then so they talked about their fat loss. And then they were like, but the fat loss is nothing. Like, I have better skin and better hair and you name it. Like, it was amazing. It was just so much validation in that one group. So now we talk about how important they are, right? I think the question is, when should you connect stories in the selling process and how should you tell them, right? So when I say always, every time, whenever you think of someone that they can connect with, always, 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 you should be putting in there. And the reason is that you, like I said, you don't have to do it yourself. Like, in the beginning, I'll share our story with how this worked for us. We knew nothing. We had been drinking it. Nick had been drinking it, and then I started drinking it and feeling good. But we went to one event down in Virginia, and that team was so welcoming and kind to us, and we just felt the community, and we heard their stories, and that's how it started for us. And so then when we came back here, we got asked so many questions, and people were really skeptical, of course. And so we just connected them with their team. We would literally call down and say, do you guys have anyone experiencing, A, B, C, D, anything on the side of the box? Obviously we don't want to make any medical claims, but anything that people were going through, we would reach out and say, do you have people experiencing this? Connect them in a 3-way, connect them on a Zoom, connect them on a phone call. It's all we did. And it started to just blossom something beautiful. Like, not only did it to like give us credibility with the product, but these relationships started to form between us and that team and our new people and us and our new people in that team, because they were connected on such a deeper level. And so the credibility you have is in your story, right? Don't try to talk about it if you haven't experienced it. I think that is something super important. Like, when you're sharing a story, I can share Nick's story, I can share my mom's story, I can share anyone on your story till the day is long, but it loses credibility, because if I'm trying to talk to someone who's experiencing something I've never been through, they're like, she doesn't even know, she doesn't even understand my pain, she doesn't understand what I'm going through. She's literally trying to make a transaction. As helpful as I'm trying to be, they feel that way because I'm trying to speak to something I've never experienced. Whereas if I can connect them with someone, like, I don't have to talk about it if I haven't experienced it. So what you are and who you are and what you've experienced is what you should talk about all day long, right? Connect, connect, connect. So how should you do this? Okay, let's start with one thing not to do, and then we'll move into some things to do this and be better at doing it. One thing not to do, and I hear this a lot, is don't apologize or ask permission for telling a story, for telling your story, or for connecting them. How many of you have said things like, I'm sorry, but can I tell you a story about this? Or, I promise to be really quick if you just hear, you know, how I'm feeling, as though you're apologizing for doing something wrong, right? When you start a story that way, the message you're communicating is that your story is not important. And if you think it's worth your audience's time, don't apologize for it. The product, like I said, is the stories, and they need to be heard. They need to get out there whatever way you feel comfortable doing that. So what to do? Like Brian said last night, be a messenger, not the message, right? Connect, connect, connect. You don't have to know it all. Make a good introduction of each person so they want to connect. I think sometimes we're like, connect us in a three-way. We're going to share our stories. And then you get in and you're like, hey, Josh, meet Brad. What's that even mean? Like, are they going to go golfing? Like, what do you need to say? Like, hey, you know, this is my friend Jenny. She's a little scared, you know, about trying the product because she's tried XYZ medicines and she's had these side effects. Josh, I know you also experienced this and you've really found some relief with ketones and found that you really feel good with this. Like, do you mind just sharing your story? You can take me out of this message if you guys want it to be more private, but I just wanted you guys to connect so that you can hear it. And if you decide to try it or not after that, you know, we can cross that bridge when we get to it, but I just want you guys to talk and hear your stories and see where you go from there. And that makes them feel comfortable. They can share. I'm taking myself out of the situation. Get the stories out. Here's another to do. Get the stories out however you can. I'm going to start doing more of this. In the past, I've said I was going to do it and I haven't. I'm going to do more of it. Start doing more live sharing stories, because I think with how many companies are doing sales these days, I think it's so impersonal. And, you know, you meet people online and you sort of get to know their story and then it dies off. But what if we could connect, and even if the person does whatever, like I'm saying share stories of ketones, but I mean, however you're connecting, I think live video is the way to go, because so many more people see it. So many more people connect to it. They can hear, it's not me hearing their story, it's my whole network hearing their story, right? And their network hearing my story. Let's get these out there, because how else can we get them out? Like, message, do whatever you can. The stories are what people need to hear every single time. And it's all about exposures, right? And getting people around each other is huge. You never know what people are going through and what speaks to them. Nick and I realized this big time in the beginning of our journey with this. We were doing weekly workshops and we didn't know people like we do now. We've built a strong local community using stories and sharing them like this. But in the beginning, everyone came for fat loss. Like 99% of people wanted to lose fat, and that's why they came. And what happened was, when they started to get around each other, like they would reach out and say, I want to lose fat. Can I try this? Sure. Come out Wednesday. You can meet some great people, try the flavors. It'll be really fun. And there's some prizes, whatever. They would get there and hear, 10 people talk about their experience. And then they'd come up to us after and be like, I didn't really want to share that, but when she told her story, hit me right in the heart. Like, I need this in my life, and I know 5, 6 other people who need it too. So you never know what people are going to connect to that you don't even know they're going through. So getting people around each other, exposing them to what it's doing. We do that every single time we get people together. Never assume that people know people's stories. We had some promoters over last night to try the new fairy dust, which is amazing. If it comes on sale again, you guys need to grab some. We just had a little tiny taste because we shared, but they were sharing, and some were, you don't realize, like, oh, they haven't been around long, or these people, you always think everyone knows their stories, but they didn't, and it was super powerful for them to hear, and they were just shocked by what each other had gone through and experienced and how it got them to where they are now. So the last thing I would say is be authentic. Excuse me, be authentic and confident. If you're the one who's sharing your story, if someone connects you and says, hey, do you mind, sharing what you've gone through, exactly what you experienced, someone needs to hear. Like, don't feel like you have to fluff it. Don't feel like it's not enough. Like, for me, what I needed desperately is what is on the side of the box. And sometimes that can feel like that's not enough. Like, when you hear all these other stories about incredible transformations and incredible life-changing experiences, you're like, oh, it seems kind of silly to talk about like a better mood. But for me, that was life-changing. And to share that, like, sometimes I used to doubt myself, like, especially after, excuse me, Nick and his brain injuries and how impactful the keto lifestyle was for that. It's like, oh, and then I just, needed some of this, but there's other people out there that are exactly like me, like a mom, a wife, a business owner, a former attorney, a homeschooler, you name it, that my story is their story, and all they need is ketones to make it even better, right? So be confident. You are what people need to see and what people need to hear. So how do you start to do this? How do you start to build your story? If you guys were at the last, I forgot. I think they do it at a lot of the More and Keto Academy events, but you need to know your story. Like, when people ask you, what's your story with Pruvit? Like, what have you experienced with ketones? You need to be able to say, like, make it simple. Like, before ketones, I felt this way. Since starting ketones, fill it in. In the future, what I'm excited about is, and the same thing with Pruvit. Like, when they say, why Pruvit? Why did you choose Pruvit over XYZ? Same thing. Before Pruvit, now Pruvit. You can create these stories, so when people ask you, and you can do it with your teams, you can do it with your promoters, and say, like, let's sit down and really do this, so when people ask us, we're ready to share, because that's super important. And share your story. Share it on social media, share it in person, you name it. People will reciprocate their own stories, and then you can start to connect them, and you'll be surprised how quickly your business grows and how quickly your local market starts to connect, your team starts to connect. So we'll move right into that. How does sharing your story or story sharing with each other build your local community? What I think we found, and we did it because it was the only thing that we knew to do, but it really created something so special locally that we're really proud of. We have a strong local community that loves each other, and regardless of, like, whether they're directly benefiting each other or not, they just share and they love and they help each other. And it all started from this talk, and it's because they created these lasting relationships. They connected maybe on a keto story, but then they got to know each other so well that they just care about each other so much. And you know your people, like, if you're hearing their story, we've talked about in other Zooms, like being customer service, creating this customer experience. If you know their story, you can help them. You can connect them better when you're not trying to sell them ketones. You know what's going on in their life. You can send them birthday things and be a part of their life more than just being their keto seller, Another reason this builds local community is because new guests can relate to others, and it builds their belief. We talked about that already. And it builds their confidence and everyone else's. You can't deny something when everyone around you believes in it, right? And so I think every time you hear a story, every time you see a story come through your text message that you changed someone's life, you can't deny it. It builds like another layer of skin for you to go out and share, because, sorry, I don't know who's unmuted. I'm getting a little background noise. Tony, I think maybe you're cooking. You can mute out. But I think it builds your own confidence in everyone around you, because you just keep hearing, you know, in the beginning, before you're getting any of these stories, before you know what's really going on, you don't have anything to share. So you're like, oh, are people really going to like this or not? And then you start to get them in, right? And you know this. And every time you get one of those stories, it's easy to block out the negative, because what I think when people are negative about it, they're just not ready. They're just not ready. They don't understand something, or they're not ready to be open to it. Their belief isn't there in one of the areas. But the more of these stories you can get in front of them, it builds all of that and builds your confidence, right? So think about it. How does it feel? Like when you get messages every day with someone sharing how you've changed their life, how does it feel when you're sitting in a room of people sharing and getting emotional, all because you shared your story? Like, that's life-changing for me to get in a room, like, because we shared this and because we helped people share their stories, this room, everyone in this room has been changed, and they're so emotional, and it changed their whole family. It's amazing. And how amazing would it be to share that feeling with every person who asks you about ketones? Like, if you could somehow convey that emotion every time you share this product, that would be amazing, right? And you can. And the way to do it is by connecting stories every single time. And so I want to hop into recognition here. Excuse me, we were in Las Vegas and my throat so dried out still. But I want to hop into recognition because you guys are awesome. And we got so much recognition tonight. Hold on. We got so much recognition. I want to make sure we get to that because that is super important. Steph, Chris, third-party validation, huge. She's super good at that. Heather, Harold, and Ron Morrow always showing up. Kat Paita, getting tons and tons of 10 days out. Tiffany Harris and Christy Rackley being examples of better. Tiffany Harris doing the right thing. She just got recognized. She's an example of better. She's doing the right thing even when life gets hard. Tiffany, you're rocking it. Your name's on here twice. Cindy Miller, awesome communication and building her strength. Excuse me. She's really using the tools that she learned at Moore in her personal life right now, which is awesome. Dawn Caldwell, daily encouragement. Riley Pearson, not letting excuses slow them down. Carly Covert, consistency. Donna Puccini, always playing full out, getting 10 days out. Hannah Rockwell, being leadable, teachable, and coachable. Jess Nows, great job leading in New York City. Karen James Whitmer, making hard decisions and being super positive and always showing up. Amanda Villefort and Andrea Hagman going all in and showing up ever since. And Christy Speidel for reaching up to connect. So great job, guys, on that. I'm going to give you guys a call to action, but before I do that, at 9:30 in 10 minutes, we're going to go live on the Champion Success Profile page on Facebook. Tony Cohen will be interviewing Lori Aliberti. You're not going to want to miss it. Lori, if you don't mind dropping that link in the chat here so people can just click right over from here, and then you can invite your friends from there. And the call to action tonight, I want you guys to first know your story. So if you don't have your story, go ahead and write that down. Figure out really what's changed and where you want to go with that. I want you to take 2 people in your team that you don't know their story and learn it, and then share with someone. Same with the Inspire On videos and these success profiles. Learn their story and then connect them with someone who needs to hear it. And then I want you to take this week and go live with 2 people and share their story. You know, do an interview. If they're scared of live, you can guide them through that. If you're scared to do it, I can help you. But reach out, you know, and I think just get the stories out. It doesn't have to be long. You know, I think we can be doing that with Reboot Stories as well. But I think let's get on and get those stories out there, and I'm looking forward to hearing those from all of you guys. So hop on over to the Champ Success Profile page, and I can't wait to hear from you, Lori, and we will all talk soon.